Hello, good morning. Nice to meet you. I am Natália Riede. I am an anchor at Times Brasil, CNBC, here in São Paulo. I'm a journalist, and it's a privilege to be here with you in this morning. Let's dive into the heart of our discussion here, which promises to be rich, insightful. I'm pleased to introduce our panelists here, who bring deep knowledge and perspectives. In a world challenged by inequality, climate risks, and geopolitical strengths, cooperation is our greatest asset. And never before we had so many stages and channels for communications, so everybody can talk, everybody has a voice. So many voices to be heard, and that's great, that's democratic. But at the same time, never have so many people wanted to talk rather than to listen. Do you agree with me? And we notice a little willingness to hear others in this contest, this space, and conversations like the one we're going to have here. And the Horasis format is very special and make our time here even more special and a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to be here with you. So, Frank, thank you so much for this invitation and this opportunity. And the answer we intend to bring, or at least to inspire you to think about, is how do we build a shared purpose across communities and nations? Over the next hour, we have here 5, because one more is arriving, visionaries that will share both ideas, and I'm very excited to hear you. So please welcome David Gershon, Empowerment Institute. Nice to meet you. Good morning. Here we have Jedli. Is that right? I'm sorry for my English. I promise I'll do my best here with you. And he's president of Liberland. Nice to meet you. Here I have Martín Burt, Fundación Paraguaya. Thank you for being here. And Cordell, founder of the Festival of Diaspora. Good morning, and good morning, everybody. I'll propose 4 or 5 minutes for each one of you to introduce yourselves, your purpose here, and after that we will have a moment for very interesting exchanges. So, Cordell, may I start with you?
Good morning, everyone. Let me try in Portuguese. Bom dia. Is that correct?
Bom dia.
Greetings to my fellow panelists and our moderator, Cordell from the Aspen Institute Project on Belonging for another 30 days. Then it'll just be the Project on Belonging because I have permission to pull it outside of Aspen. I've been engaged in the work of the greater good for probably about 15 years now, trained as a lawyer, but quickly decided that's not how I want to spend my time looking through case files and writing responses to interrogatories like, who cares? This is not changing the game. The most important thing to know about me is that I'm the son of a preacher man. So I think there's a spiritual purpose to everything. And as I think about nation states and what a nation really is, it's a moral expression of the people who purposely avail themselves to it. So it's no such thing as saying, I didn't vote for Trump, that's not my issue. No, my friend, you purposely availed yourself to this thing called the United States of America. And so you're part of it. And so knowing that, it has a multidimensional view, this idea that nation building is an evolutionary thing. The Aspen Institute asked me about 6 years ago to take on diversity, equity, inclusion. Now, I am a right-leaning Southerner who ended up on the West Coast because of the U.S. military, okay? So this is a very odd thing to ask me, especially considering my work history prior to getting to the Aspen Institute. But I took it as a challenge. And I couldn't shake this sermon from a guy named Jay Height out of Indianapolis. He says, humans are Lego pieces. Their best use is attached alongside another Lego piece. How many of you ever stepped on a Lego piece, solitary Lego piece in the dark? Yeah, you're hopping, right? Exactly. It hurts. It's a little different when it's a construction of a bigger thing. So what does that look like for me? So the Aspen Project on Belonging wasn't about diversity, equity, inclusion. It was about finding the national narrative. In the United States of America, we've lost it. Now, that'd be fine if we were just talking about the US, but the role that we've been playing for the last 80 years in a rules-based world order has made that a very challenging task for other people that are not US citizens. And so we focus on 4 things in the Project on Belonging. One is convenings, bringing people together. Our big event is the festival Diaspora. It's actually based in Medellin. And we bring together diaspora communities across the Americas, with the theory being the following. You're either in the Americas by force or choice. Even if you're indigenous, you have been moved by colonial forces. So we are all a part of this thing. So all are welcome. The second piece is content, and there's a couple books that I've written via Aspen all around using American history to tell a story of expansion, a better story about America. There's a lot of negative stories internally. I think there's some better stories to tell. Thirdly is about ventures, how we can fund this whole thing, investing in artisanal gold mining. Pharrell Williams helps us sponsor a lot of Afro-Indigenous women entrepreneurs, scaling their businesses. And lastly, it's about leadership experiences, but I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's now meet Martín Burt. Thank you for coming here.
Muito obrigado.
Obrigada
Thank
você.
you very much. I'm very, very happy to be here and honored to share this panel. I am a social entrepreneur from next door Paraguay. We're a small country in South America, surrounded by big Brazil, big Argentina, and big Bolivia. And we're very happy to be neighbors of these fabulous countries. We, together with a group of business leaders, we started the Paraguay Foundation in 1985 during the military dictatorship of Paraguay. And we were worried that the economic model did not include the little guy. We were worried that the World Bank did not include the street vendor as an economic agent. So we have been working during these 40 years to discover how to incorporate the street vendor into the economy. In the process, we discovered that the emperor has no clothes. And we discovered that the Sustainable Development Goals were written by experts in New York City. But when we showed this to a street vendor, she didn't understand. And so we started asking them, what does it mean for you to be not poor? And they said, oh, you have to have money. What more? You have to have water. Tell me more. You have to have clothes. What else? You have to have food. What else? You have to have motivation. Excuse me? Yes, you have to have self-esteem. What? You have to control your emotions. Wow. Yes. What is more important, drinking water or controlling your emotions? Ridiculous question. Of course, controlling your emotions. And I asked my friends at the World Bank, why don't you measure subjective indicators? The people say that self-esteem and motivation are as important as income and water. And they told me, we understand, but we don't have data. Why? Because we are the World Bank. We work with census data. So in any case, we asked the poor what it means for you to be not poor, and they gave us 50 answers, and we developed a little app that allows the poor to touch a screen, and in 20 minutes, we have enough water, we have income, and in 20 minutes, any family can measure their own poverty, and instead of doing an index, they do a dashboard. We are now working in 60 countries. In the United States, in Portugal, in the UK, in Brazil, in India, in South Africa. And we discovered that poverty can be eliminated in 5 years.
5 years?
A typical family has 15 problems. And a typical family can overcome 3 problems a year. So now we have a private approach at the family level to eliminate poverty, and the United Nations says it needs $4 trillion or something like that. So it's just an introduction of we have to look at the world at a different way, and we have to listen to the voices of the mothers. And so to finalize, it used to be that it was governments, private companies, civil society. Today, technology allows us to incorporate a new actor, the mother of the house. The mother of the house is a very powerful force that has never been listened to. And so today, we are working with 575,000 mothers in 60 countries. And so I'm very happy to share with you, Horasis is a perfect example to challenge this. We know the people who did this. These are the best people in the world, but they are from the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Martin. Very inspiring to hear you talking about the layers of the poverty and the importance of hearing, giving voice to these people and the mothers. I love it, this part. So now I'm curious to hear Jedli, right? President, almost, I tried my best. President of Liberland, who has a different story here to share with us. So thank you, Vit.
Well, we actually are coming from the same angle. When I was 13 years old, I was really thinking, like, what should I do with my life? How to be the most useful for the society I'm living in? And yes, I was able to identify a big problem that we had. I just lived through communism, and that I could see that the society can go completely crazy. People are destroying their lives with a stupid form of government, and I was thinking that we can do actually much better. In Czech Republic, I started on my journey of educating people about economic freedom, about social freedoms, and that we could do even much better. I was calling for changing Czech Republic into a Swiss model. And at some point, there was a strong counter-argument that there is not enough Swiss people in Czech Republic to turn Czech Republic into Swiss type of country. And I went even further. I started thinking deeply how we can actually fix this huge problem that we have. Too much bureaucracy, too much taxes, too many dead people because of different crazy wars that the people are putting together. And yes, I came to the conclusion that the best option is not fight with the existing system as many people are doing. And I think it's also important to keep up the fight, but start a new model, bring people onto a new model of statehood, of a society. And I was also aware that there is this 1% of people around the world that actually deeply care about freedom. They really think about it. And they are not represented. They don't have their country. There are multiple quite free countries like Paraguay, and I embrace it, but there is not purposefully a country built for people that truly believe in economic freedom and in personal freedom. So at that point, 10 years ago, we started looking for a place to start a new country. We choose this territory between Croatia and Serbia, beautiful 7 square kilometers of land that was unclaimed after dissolution of Yugoslavia. It was apparent it's not going to be easy to start a new country, but really at some time in history, I was thinking it might be actually much easier than to fix an existing country, just start from scratch, discard all the previous norms. And we actually started the country purposefully on birthday of Thomas Jefferson. We wanted to invoke the spirit of American Revolution. we wanted to bring about kind of a new Tea Party movement, global Tea Party movement of people that are unsatisfied with 30-40% taxes. In Europe, some countries go crazy. They basically collect almost 70% of what people make, and then they redistribute it. Sometimes better, sometimes worse, but we know very well that, of course, the money is best taken care of directly by the people, not by some bureaucrats. So ultimately, it's always destroying the prosperity of the society. And yes, bureaucracy is a big problem in Spain. You spend like 12 weeks, if you have a business, just filling up the paperwork. So we decided to fix all of these things. We started New Country on 13th of April 2015. We declared all these ideas. We started working on a blockchain governance to remove all the bureaucrats from the society, make all the transactions completely seamless. We said, democracy might not be the best system. Let's install meritocracy, so the more contributions you make to your country, the bigger is your vote. Yet we have had also democratic elements, something from Switzerland, that majority of citizens can veto any law or any even person in government that they don't like. And here we are right now. The governance is working for more than a year. We have quite exciting new prime minister of Liberland. He's probably the wealthiest prime minister ever elected on planet Earth, so he's quite helpful in making contacts, for example, with Trump administration. Liberland is now for more than 2 years populated after lots of issues with Croatians that were claiming that we basically cannot go to Liberland because we are leaving Croatia illegally. So we kind of pushed them to open unofficially borders, so Liberland is now open for business, even though not for everybody. It's also funny because Croatia is making it difficult for non-EU people to visit, or to visit okay, but to stay long-term is not that easy. So we have still a couple of challenges. I invite you to look into Liberland if you share these ideas, and I'm more than happy to be here. Thank you very much, Frank, for inviting us.
Thank you, Vid. I knew it was to be inspiring to be here, fascinating to hear you, but it's better than I thought. Now, let's give some minutes for David Gershon from, not sure about the surname, perfect, almost perfect. He's from Empowerment Institute, and we'll talk a little about that. Thank you. No, not yet. Yeah, I think you...
Hi, everybody.
Yes.
I want to just acknowledge these extraordinary people on this panel. You are dreamers. You are visionaries. Thank you, Frank, for putting such an extraordinary group of people together. I'm inspired already. And you've invited me to, or encouraged me to think about how to talk about what I'm doing from the highest vision point of view. And I'm a dreamer. I am prepared to put out the boldest dreams that I can envision and then dedicate my life to making them happen. And the boldest vision that I can envision is peace on earth. And so why not peace on earth? Why not actually change the world and create the dream that we all have? If we can start another country, if we can transform poverty, if we can heal the divides in one's nations, why not actually go for it? So we have a vision called Peace on Earth by 2030. We call it a moonshot. That is to say, it is a big idea that seems implausible, but if successful, we transform planet Earth and humanity's trajectory. It grew out of an experience I had in 1986 at the height of the Cold War. America and Russia had 50,000 nuclear arms aimed at each other, and we didn't think we were going to make it through the end of that decade. And I had an idea to pass a torch of peace around the world, to bring the world together, to move us from what was called at the time mutually assured destruction to a place of unity. And the world responded. The world responded. And 1 billion people watch this through the media. We partner with ABC television in the US and media outlets all around the world. And we were here in Brazil having a grand old time all over Brazil. It was one of the most well-received parts of South America. And wherever the torch of peace went, all wars stopped, and the world was united as one. And we had 62 countries participate, and 45 leaders of the world, including the two Cold War antagonists, Gorbachev and Reagan, who became our champions because they had been so trapped in the old paradigm that the nation states had bound them to. And so we created a new move on the global chessboard, the geopolitical chessboard. And so wherever the torch of peace went, war stopped. And it was an initiatory moment for me. I realized, well, if we can have peace on earth for 86 days, what would it take to actually claim our birthright as a species? What if our destiny was not to be in constant states of polarity and war? What would it take to actually make that transformation happen? And so I set out over the next almost 4 decades to figure out how to actually complete the job. And so I had to learn 5 things. I had to learn how to master behavioral change, how to get enough people to adopt new behaviors. I had to learn about what we call the science of tipping points, how small actions can have a large impact. I had to learn about what ultimately I wrote a book about called second order change, which is transformative social change, how one transforms systems. And in 2020, we set out to see if we could pull this off by the end of the decade. And we created something we call the Peace Game, which are 7 practices that grew out of our experience of peace on earth for 86 days. Oneness, learning how to befriend the other. Unity, learning how to find that which we share in common with other people. Cooperation, learning how to work with others for the common good. Empowerment, learning how to build a sense of agency. Abundance, learning how to come from a place of generosity and willingness to give of oneself to move this kind of an idea forward. Love, which is really about the agape love, the Greek idea of love of humanity, which is praying for and visualizing peace on earth. And ultimately faith. Faith that we can live in a different way. And we set out to see if we could invite the world to play. So 5 years later, we have 608 cities in 67 countries engaged in this peace game. We've partnered with a wonderful organization. I don't know if my colleague here is here, Al Jubitz, but the Rotary has stepped up to say yes to this. They are in 200 countries. They are the mycelial network. Every city has a Rotary Club, and they want to create peace on earth. So we have many partners, and it's exciting to see the world say yes, as opposed to just say no. We don't want that. And when you bring a yes into play, you get a very different response than when it's just about how people define peace, which is really the absence of war. Let me just close this round by saying, what is peace? How does one actually define it? How does one actually create it? So, the absence of war is not how we define peace. That's a byproduct of something else, which we'd call coherence. Coherence. So there's Ilya Prigogine, this Nobel laureate in physics, had this beautiful insight from his research. He said, when a complex system, aka planet Earth, is in a disequilibrium state, meaning there is disharmony in play, there's not resonance between people, countries, ideas. Small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos can move a system to a higher level of order and well-being. That is the sort of physics of this peace movement. And so we've built a peace movement based on mathematics and based on patterns. So the mathematics is that coherence can be achieved with 0.5% of a population if they come together with a clear set of practices, the peace game. And then if you bring them to a community and scale it, we call those peace zones, 10,000 of them you create coherence at the scale of a community. And so we've begun doing that. And again, with our partnership with Rotary, we have the potential to actually actualize that at scale. More to be said, but stay tuned, because Peace on Earth may be coming to your community. If someone knocks on your door and says, "Would you like to play the peace game?" say, "Yes, I want to be part of this transformational process." So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And now let's welcome Indrani Pal-Chaudhuri from Open Orange and Shakti Regeneration Institute. Nice to have you here. Join us.
Thank you so much. I felt the force of nature this morning in the rain unexpectedly, but got here in time, just in time. So I'm so grateful to be here with such wonderful visionaries and systems change leaders. I'm a filmmaker. I'm Indrani Pal-Chaudhuri. I co-founded a green energy company and a nonprofit called Shakti Regeneration Institute. And together we've launched the Regeneration Generation, both a film and a movement. My focus has been, how do we scale humanity without losing our humanity? As a child growing up in India, I had the great honor of learning from Mother Teresa and from Hindu monks in one of the most populated places in the world, how peace and love are the greatest value propositions for humanity. Money, resources, all of those things, they're systems, they're tools that we use to help support our basic needs. But they're not what gives life meaning. I've been very fortunate, and here in Sao Paulo, the business center of the country, which arguably has the greatest wealth of biodiversity, the greatest wealth of indigenous knowledge systems that remain unbroken in spite of huge efforts to destroy them over time. And I've been very fortunate to spend many years now working with indigenous communities, learning from them, helping to share their story in this film, The Regeneration Generation, and more importantly, really learning from them how we can view our world differently, how we can learn to live in harmony with nature in the ways that they have. I've also interviewed many scientists, business leaders, and heroes of a tipping point of humanity. We face many tipping points. The scientists tell us, our Nobel Prize winning partners, Carlos Nobre, who was the IPCC scientist who really shared with the world the tipping point of the Amazon. You know, the perilous journey we are on right now. We are close to losing the Amazon. 3 to 5 years, perhaps, maybe all that we have. And yet, there's another tipping point that humanity is close to, I believe, and so do so many of the great leaders and visionaries I've had the opportunity to interview. The tipping point of humanity shifting consciousness from extractive approaches to regenerative approaches, from war to peace, from this mindset of scarcity, which causes us to do horrible things to each other and to nature, to a recognition that we are living in the time of the greatest human abundance, the greatest wealth, the greatest knowledge, the greatest systems approaches. We have such an incredible abundance that we often don't know what to do with it, and we spend so much on the machines that we let them rule our lives. But spending time with indigenous communities, I've been able to learn the beauty of being one with nature. You know, we're suffering from a pandemic of loneliness, an epidemic of suicides in a time when we're arguably the most connected we've ever been. We have devices that allow us to be constantly connected to others across the world, and yet that's not enough. humanity actually needs each other, and we need nature. So how do we solve these challenges that seem so insurmountable? How can we prosper and at the same time preserve our planet and nature? Our indigenous friends, the Puyanawas, remind us that nature doesn't need humanity. Humanity needs nature. I was interviewing with Alton Krenak, who's an incredible philosopher here, such a light of inspiration for so many. He coined the phrase, "the future is ancestral." And it took me some time to really understand what that means. The truth is, humanity has survived and thrived for hundreds of thousands of years, using pattern recognition, developing governance systems, developing plant medicine systems, living in harmony with nature, recognizing in nature that all of our needs are met. Our needs for food, for medicine, our needs for companionship, our needs for inspiration. If you look at our art, if you look at our culture around the world, it's all based on nature. If you look at our systems, our greatest achievements, airplanes, rocket ships, they're all based on nature. And if we lose nature, we don't just lose our art and inspiration. We lose the capacity for life. Carlos Nobre and Benjamin Horton, two great scientists who have studied for their whole lives how we could live with these without going over these planetary boundaries, tell us that we are perilously close. And what does that really mean? If we lose the Amazon, we lose 7 out of 8 humans on the planet as a direct result. People aren't talking about that number because no one wants to imagine that they would be one of the 7 out of 8. But the systems recognition, pattern recognition requires that we actually look at what we're doing to our planet with a greater capacity to avoid this great harm that we're doing to ourselves. There are rivers in the sky that the Amazon creates. And those rivers are what stabilize our rainfall systems around the world, and they're what stabilize agriculture and our global economies. When you cut those off, you immediately destabilize everything that we hold dear. I was in South Africa with Oxford University just 2 weeks ago, and there the Sahara is growing in exact proportion to how much of the Amazon we're destroying. Rain systems all the way up to California will be irrevocably affected. And it takes hundreds of years to grow those trees back. This is not something we can just fix overnight. But the solutions are very simple. We stop the burning. We use the amazing technologies that we have. As Christiana Figueres, who's also part of this project, says, we have all the answers, we have all the tools. We just need the will to invest in them, to scale them up. And so I've been deeply involved in 2 projects that are critical solutions, among many others. We need each of you to develop solutions. But these 2 are powerful. One is green energy. So I'm the founder and chief vision officer of Open Origin. We're creating green ammonia from sunlight, following nature's way. Sunlight and water are the key components, and with them, we can power AI, data centers, we can decarbonize shipping and agriculture, and we can transform our capacity to grow without having to restrict ourselves in the ways that will happen if we allow for the collapse that may occur if we don't consciously shift our systems. And this isn't about taking away from anyone's income streams that are currently producing their world. This is about additionality. This is how we can supplement and grow our capacities and evolve to the next ways of powering our planet. And second, we need to protect our forests, and we can use financing structures for that. We're creating a biocultural bond. We've brought 120 scientists together for the X Prize Rainforest. We became semi-finalists in measuring and monitoring biodiversity and creating finance systems that reward biodiversity growth rather than its destruction, and also biocultural. So the forest protectors, 80% of the world's intact ecosystems are stewarded by indigenous communities, both here in the Amazon and all around the world. Their wisdom and capacity to do this incredible work has remained unbroken for thousands of years. And they can continue to be the greatest stewards of our nature. But they need our support. They receive less than 1% of climate finance. This is not about philanthropy. This is about creating systems so that we can invest in living nature and in nature protectors, rather than the current system where we only invest in dead nature and burning its leftovers. So I invite you all to see the great opportunities that are among us today and to invest in the living force of nature and in your future generations. 7 generations is what indigenous communities teach us to aim for, not just the next quarter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Indrani. That's why we are here. So thank you, each one of you, for this time of presentation. It was really interesting to hear all this idea. Now I have a proposal here. Let's try to connect ideas to action, okay? So I'll start with Cordell. The question is, yes, you have a mic. How can technology be leveraged to create equitable opportunities and promote inclusion on a global scale?
Thank you for that question. And I neglected to honor Frank Jurgen. I want to recognize Frank for just being an amazing comedian. Please give Frank Jurgen a hand, please. Thank you. I think the best thing we can do with respect to technology and equity is to focus on real information, data. Have data-driven decisions. So much of I'll just use the American example. American public policy is driven off of bias and conjecture, because it's dangerous to actually use data, because the data is going to tell a very different story than what sells politically. The vast majority of poverty in this country, in the United States, are not people of color. Okay, it's just not the case. How could it possibly be when you're talking about 25% of the total population? It's not possible. Now, we can make that logical exercise, yes, but politically it does not work, okay? And so if you were to focus on data-driven policymaking, the tech becomes a lot easier. That's why I love what Martin is doing. You and I got to talk, sir, because this is transformational, and it could drive policy, which makes better tech that get us to much better outcomes for society. Thank you.
Now, Martin, so we'll follow this way. Martin, how do you think we can use the poverty stoplight to find hidden poverty and target help better?
Muchas gracias. Thank you. This panel is called Shaping Humanity Together.
Yes.
Who is together? Is it just us? There is a bigger together, the excluded. The excluded are on purpose for efficiency, okay? In the first industrial revolution, or in the second industrial revolution, remember Frederick Taylor, right? The optimization, okay? Look, today in my country, we have a ministry of children and youth. It does not talk to the ministry of housing. It does not talk to the ministry of women. It does not talk to the ministry of agriculture. There is a fragmentation that before used to be efficient. Today, in the fourth industrial revolution, we can deal with family household in a very efficient way because of technology, okay? So this is one thing. The other thing is AI. Can you imagine AI in the hands of a poor single mother in a favela here in Sao Paulo who can be her companion? And she can say, listen, AI, I have these 7 problems. I need to make more money, but I really need to learn how to save. I need to fix my teeth. My latrine is a problem, and there is family violence. And the AI, working with the hundreds of thousands of families, can say, okay, Julia, let's start with fixing your teeth. So I am very optimistic and very encouraged if we can use AI to empower families to disintermediate society. Because government was created to solve problems. But what if the people could solve problems themselves? So I would love to talk to you if you have ideas, but we are working with a Gypsy Roma community in Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia. They know very well what it means to be a non-poor Roma in Bulgaria. But nobody's listening. So this is an opportunity that technology can help us, but not only us, can help the people have a better understanding of all the solutions that are right there that they don't know.
Perfect. It's all about our disposition to hear, to connect, yes, to really hear. So, Vit, I'm curious to know about this Liberland's recent blockchain elections, who made headlines all around the world. How did this experiment change trust and citizen participation, and what countries could learn from it?
Just let me give you an example. Actually, Liberland has already 3 years ago helped to organize elections in Liberia, where we have also strong relations. We actually used very similar technology for them to help to count the votes, because they had like centralized system that was very easily to be meddled with, and we offered them our blockchain solution. So all the people that counted in these different districts, the votes, they filled the data directly to this blockchain ecosystem. And at least on the central level, you had complete certainty that it was not rigged, because it was run on blockchain. That's where, this is a very important element of this whole blockchain thing, that even in the United States there is still debate, who is rigging the elections, but there is no certainty if it actually works. In Liberland, we have 100% certainty that nobody rigged the elections, because everything is run on blockchain, on the very same technology that Bitcoin is based on, right? What it is good for, it's removing middlemen. We don't need any more central banks in the world, because we have Bitcoin. There is nobody running Bitcoin. There is no CEO of Bitcoin, even though there are these nice memes where there is the CEO of Bitcoin. But it's completely decentralized, and that's what we also want to utilize this technology for in Liberland, is to remove the middleman. We don't need bureaucrats to run a society, completely trustworthy society, where you don't have to check if something was done or if something was rigged, because there is no space for it. Liberland is the first country with just fully open accounting. If you jump to blockchain.liberland.org, you see every second how the Ministry of Finance is spending the money, where is it going. So those are quite important things. But let me just talk a little bit more about AI. This is where I'm getting excited lately. Because what we're doing, we are allowing citizens, but also congressmen now, to plug in their AI agents into this blockchain, which seriously boosts the engagement of people inside of the ecosystem. We're just experimenting with it, but I see the huge potential where basically your AI agent has full citizenship rights. You decide how much autonomy you want to give it to, how much resources it can operate with. how much proposals it should say, what it should push within the society, and then you give it open hand to do the stuff. Take care of your finance inside of Liberland ecosystem, because yes, we are also a monetary ecosystem, right? Liberland itself has a currency, it has a share. Whenever you actually contribute to the country, you become bigger shareholder of your country, which I would say is the biggest innovation what Liberland has brought to the table. It has become interesting financial endeavor for people that contributed to Liberland as a donation. We turned that donation into share. We already issued first dividend to the shareholders, and that dividend was actually 5 times more valuable than their donation 10 years ago. So it was very interesting also experiment from that perspective, and I see very bright future now when it comes to utilizing different AI agents within the ecosystem and allowing them to be active participants, and maybe even sometimes completely autonomous AI could gain a citizenship status. So Liberland becomes also a merger of this new technology, very powerful technology, which is artificial intelligence and humans in one society, which the other societies are not ready for, right? But we are very much built for this merger.
Thank you so much, Vit, for sharing this recent experience. And David, I'd like to hear more about peace, your peace ideas. It's very convenient nowadays, right? So how can the peace on Earth by 2030 moonshot empower both global political leaders and grassroots leaders to believe peace is possible and work together to achieve it?
Thank you for that question. So at the end of the day, shaping humanity together requires us to work from the top down and the bottom up, because that is the system we have. How does one do that? One of the learnings we had from the first Earth run, where we had 25 million people on the ground and 62 leaders of the countries working together in common cause, was a vision transcendent enough, big enough, important enough, unitive enough, that they saw a reason to work together. The challenge we face right now is that the political system is not motivated to move beyond national interest. So we have to think of something that allows people and them to go to a bigger idea. So this Peace on Earth by 2030 moonshot, no one has said no to. A lot of people have said it's impossible. Yep, okay. But what if it was possible? What if we knew actually how? What if there was a science to peace? What if we made it so there was no other that we had to fight against? What if there was just learning how to come into better relationship with one another? What if there were methodologies to enable that? Well, that's what we're putting out as our experiment in the world, bringing all those ideas together. Can we bring the world together? That's the question. I don't have the answer, but I do believe it is absolutely doable and possible. And what I will say is we have some 70 partners all over the world who've aligned with this. I'll share a little story about our history that you may not know, a not well-known story about the evolution of humanity. So 800 million years ago, we faced extinction level threat 1. We're now on 6. So we're progressing. And we succeeded. And the extinction level threat was there was too much oxygen in the atmosphere, and single-cell organisms were unable to process it. They weren't complex enough, and they were unable to actually have the sophistication to process the oxygen. And so this evolutionary impulse kicked in, which was multicellular organisms. We learned how to cooperate for the common good. That was our first breakthrough. And out of that was what became known as the Cambrian Revolution. And it was a proliferation of new life forms, ever seen, no one had ever seen so many new life forms, more life forms than actually have ultimately ended up being on the planet. And it was the teaching that we had to learn how to cooperate for the common good. And that teaching is now upon us again. We are siloed. We are fragmented in departments within governments. We are fragmented within countries. We're fragmented within the sectors, public, private, civic. So the end game of these peace moonshot and what we call peace zones is a very simple idea. If we can learn how to cooperate together across sectors and become multicellular organisms, we can, in fact, I think, achieve most of the goals that we seek for ourselves. And it's easy to say we have the solutions. It's harder to actually implement them because we haven't learned how to work together. So shaping humanity together really is about learning how to cooperate. So when Frank says we have to create a conference based on cooperation, I say that is the evolutionary impulse. That is the organizing principle. And every panel is asking that question. What a great social experiment we have just here in Horasis over these 2 days, trying to find those strategies. One last thing I'll say. During the Earth Run, we had 3 parts to the Earth Run. We had what we call the spiritual, which was the unit of experience of passing fire around the world. We had the project called What's Working in the World, which was to shed light on the most successful initiatives that were working in communities based on cooperation. We were experimenting to see what cooperation could look like on the planet. And we found best practices everywhere. And the third was we raised lots of money. We partnered with UNICEF, and we raised many millions of dollars for the neediest children. So I've been on this journey ever since to crack the code of peace. And I believe the organizing principle that can do that is cooperation for the common good. We can deal with the environment, we can deal with poverty, we can deal with so many of the others. It creates the operating system, the new operating system that allows us to significantly accelerate our evolution. So, Frank, call out to you. I don't know how many people shout out to you, Frank, but you have put forward the right signal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Now, Indrani, as the G20 and global market search for new engines of growth, how can we build a people-centered, regenerative economy that strengthens competitiveness, invests in indigenous-led innovation, and aligns finance and technology with long-term prosperity?
What a wonderful question.
Not easy.
This is one of the most important questions of our time. How do we align prosperity with planetary survival? How do we support indigenous-led nature protection, which has been the norm for us for thousands of years? How do we continue that? How do we remove the instinct to destroy everything around us that has been with us for the past few hundred years? I think the answer comes down to peace, it comes down to love, and it comes down to the instinct for self-preservation, which humanity is usually actually really good at. The problem lies in not understanding the problem. You see, we're faced with systems that were built for a problem that we no longer have, a problem of scarcity, a problem of nature being terrifying, being the dominant force, being infinite in its appearance, and humanity feeling weak, feeling that we're alone, not recognizing that we have shifted so much through these industrial revolutions. Our machines now drive our society, they drive our decision-making, which may be for better or for worse, depending on how we use them. It's through looking at these systems from the outside. That's why indigenous knowledge is so useful and perspectives today are really relevant. It's through taking an outsider's perspective, looking at the problem, and really understanding the time frame that we have to deal with, that we can shift First, internally, to be at peace with ourselves, and then secondly, externally, to find the financial and economic ways that we can mirror nature, because up to now, nature has been the only system that has been able to keep us on this planet. Now, many people assume that we can replace her. We can create artificial rainfalls or tiny little drones that can pollinate our agriculture. Those are science fiction, and they do not exist, and they may not exist. Others plan to go to other planets. They look at those solutions because they imagine living in a fiery place with no life on it could be somehow better than this beautiful world we're in. I suggest that we simply reinforce the systems that have brought us this far, that we understand our needs. We have great mental and physical needs to be in nature. Science and medicine show that mental health and physical health rates are highly dependent on the amount of time we spend in nature. Even being surrounded by the color green, which is why I'm dressed this way today, but even that can boost your well-being, your entire physical immunity and your sense of well-being, your psychological well-being. So following the systems that already exist, understanding that we can build with nature. There are organizations like the Bioplanning Institute that I'm a founding member of, where we look at building cities in harmony with nature, not just using materials that are green and don't harm nature, but also using her methodology. Turns out humans aren't designed to live in square boxes that are up on very tall towers and that sway in the wind. It creates a lot of anxiety in our system. We're actually designed to live in beautiful places. That's why we all work so hard, right? So we can go on vacation. So putting all of our energy into saving this beautiful planet and using systems of collaboration are really important. And with our Open Origin, our energy company, we've developed a collaborative approach that has allowed us to leapfrog over our competition, to be able to, instead of competing, collaborate with those who previously would have been seen as our opponents. And we've been able to optimize technologies. And that is really based on an indigenous governance system of collaboration and following nature. When you look at nature, collaboration is everywhere. But we've been viewing her through this narrow lens of competition that's become the dominant narrative of our time. And finally, as filmmakers and storytellers, it's incredibly important that we change the narrative. It doesn't need to be about apocalypse. Most of our films and stories of the future are worlds that none of us would want to live in. And that has to change. We have to imagine the future so that we can create it. And that's what we're working on with the Regeneration Generation. So I invite you, if you're working on systems change solutions, be part of this project. If you're not, join us as well, and we can help you to find the way to align with the greater forces of love and collaboration that animate our living world. Thank you.
Time is rushing, so I could be here the rest of the day because I had so many questions. I'd like to hear more from you, but we have a lot of talks today. So I want to thank you, each one of our panelists. I'm so honored to be here with you. And thank you for your audience. The ideas brought here for our panelists, from regenerative finance to global peace initiatives, micronation governance to community-led poverty metrics, prove that cooperation across boundaries is not only possible, but essential. Let's take these insights and translate them into actions, building a future where humanity shapes the world not just through technology and economy, but through some words that I love, truly love: compassion, inclusion, dialogue, and collective purpose. Thank you for being part of this journey together. Have a great day here at Horasis. And Frank, thank you so much for this invitation and congratulations for this event. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Natalia. That was an amazing panel, and as you said, shaping humanity together. I think that's what you all did this morning, so an extra applause to all of you. And before we take a photo, I would like to call Marcelo Zufo on the stage, the heart of actually USB here, and our host of the conference of the Horasis experience, and also Dr. Aftaf Hassan. Is he here in the room? Yes, please just join us for a second. And it's all time here to celebrate, and what you mentioned before, Indrani, it's all about love, as we all share the same purpose and the passion. I would even say the compassion. Marcelo, would you like to say a few words? And please, Aftaf, join us.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to USP. And I'm the head of the innovation. And innovation here at USP means impacting the people. My only learning the past two days is that humanity needs you guys. Is that my only message? Be brave. I understand the concept of singularity, how few people can transform the world. And these panels here give me a lot of hope. So please, continue taking this flag. And thank you for Frank. He's the aggregator. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
First of all, I would like to thank my good friend, Dr. Frank, to invite. And we know each other for long years when he has created bigger things, and he came with a bigger ambition of Horasis. And I run a global association of insurtech professionals, which is supported by UNDRR, United Nations. And we have chapters opening worldwide for a cause. InsurTech, as we know, is the amalgam of technology and insurance together. We had a panel here, whereas some of our colleagues from Brazil, Industry of Insurance and Technology, they came, and it was a wonderful panel. And we invite everyone for hearing this, because we'll be posting also our highlights of InsurTech, what we do, and global association, just to cover up, Association of InsurTech Professional. In short, is this is basically to support, it's a non-profit organization for the humanity at large, whereas we feel ourselves that normally insurance people, they used to think of that it's a mitigator of economies at large, insurance. But I take it in different version of that. It is not only mitigation of humanities, or as well you can add it there apart from economy. As Ms. Chaudhuri was talking about, and I totally concur with all my panelists here, that yes, we should take it from everyone, because everyone carries some strength, and collectively the view which Horasis has brought everyone together, and the Global Visions community. This, I would like everyone to give a big hand for Dr. Frank to think of, and bringing these celebrities, I will use the word, they are all celebrities, bringing their mind together, and then collectively, with that vision, we will achieve our target. Thank you. I would like to give a small mementos for these two gentlemen as co-host, Professor Zufu, as well, because I saw that this would have not been possible without the help of the university, which supported such a cause, and you have fragmented many of the rooms for the more and more to accommodate the speakers and panelists, and to put their viewpoint and all. So thank you very much, and I would like to give a little memento to both of them. Thank you. here. So this is to Professor Marcelo Zufo for this achievement, wonderful, and then curation of this together with Horasis. Thank you, and from Global Association of InsurTech Professionals.
Thanks so much. And yes.